Welcome to the Bean Pod. This is your place for all things stocks and crypto. From beginner tips to expert picks. Use this as fuel for your investing journey, because when you're in the know, your money will grow. All views expressed by speakers on the Bean Pod are solely their opinions. You should not treat any opinion expressed on the Bean Pod as a specific inducement to make a particular investment or follow a specific strategy, but only as an expression of their opinion. This podcast is for informational purposes only.
Welcome to the Bean Pod. This is Shane, aka the Jolly Green Investor.
And this is Josh, the Nifty Investor.
Today, we're going to be talking about one of our favorite sectors in the stock market.
Which one's that?
Psychedelic stocks, also known as SHROOM stocks.
The SHROOM boom, baby.
SHROOM boom is coming back, and we're going to tell you all about it.
There's some exciting stuff happening in the space right now.
Absolutely. So the overview of the SHROOM boom and the psychedelic stock sector is we have public companies that are using psychedelic substances and compounds to treat mental illnesses.
Right. Which sounds terrifying.
Sounds terrifying, but I think this is something the world really needs right now.
Don't disagree.
Where are we at in the world right now? Pandemic. People are at home. People are depressed. People are out of jobs. People are just, in general, having a tough time.
Spending a lot of time on their own, not going out and socializing.
Right.
You know, getting that anxiety of maybe going out and seeing your friends that normally you would have seen every Friday night or something like that.
Yeah, I think this is a super important topic and a super hot sector, one that we've been investing for over a year now.
Yeah.
So yeah, look.
When you can see a problem being solved by a new technology, that's usually where I want to kind of look before the mainstream kind of catches on, because if you can connect the dots ahead of time, that's usually how you can grow your investments, right?
Exactly. It's like crypto. You know, it's early stages for the psychedelic stocks industry. So we have companies that are attempting to treat mental illnesses such as depression, anxiety, addiction, and PTSD with psychoactive substances. So we're talking about psilocybin, which is the active ingredient in magic mushrooms. We're talking about LSD, ketamine, MDMA, mescaline. There's a whole host of different substances that these companies are developing treatments with to improve how people, are diagnosed or treated with these terrible mental illnesses.
Yeah. And I guess the biggest hurdle will be, one, competing against the $1 trillion big pharma industry.
For sure.
Because they obviously make a lot of money by having people hooked on prescriptions versus maybe getting to the root cause and solving the problem. It's like, okay, you have a rock in your shoe, instead of being told that there's a rock in your shoe and you could take it out, why don't we just keep giving you Advil and then we'll just mask the pain?
Businesses like customers.
It's genius.
And repeat customers.
That's right? So we do have to get across the hurdle of the multi-trillion-dollar big pharma industry. Plus, we have to get against the stigma that's been associated with psychedelics,
right?
Mushrooms. When if you think about it, if you say the word psychedelic or you say the word mushroom, what's the first thing that comes to your head?
Woodstock?
Yeah.
Jimi Hendrix?
It's afros, it's partying, it's, trippy colors like this.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily what it is, especially in controlled doses.
For sure.
And that's what these companies are trying to do with their molecules and their studies right now.
It's a big deal. So I was trying to find financial figures on how big of an opportunity this is for that market. And while it's tough to find, I'm thinking it's around a 1 trillion mental illness market globally. What I found that was mental health services are a $225 billion market in the USA alone.
Right.
And this doesn't include people who aren't coming forward with their mental illnesses because they don't want to get on the existing pharma drugs. And that's only US. So, 1 trillion, maybe that's a little conservative. It's a hard number to put a figure on because it's so much gray area in the mental illness industry. Is a huge opportunity here. And I think these companies, at the end of the day, it's a big opportunity.
Yeah. And there's also the people who don't come out. So there's the ones who are diagnosed, maybe that gets factored into the equation, but have they considered the people who are suffering but haven't come forward?
Right.
I was just hanging out with this firefighter the other day, and the amount of things that they go through, the guy was struggling. Like, it's like he's never had a chance to actually speak to anybody. And his partner was like, yeah, he's really closed down, all these things. And, I have a few other friends who are firefighters as well. And they're struggling, man. But the guy is the type of person who doesn't want to come out and tell anybody. So you also have this massive population they're not coming forward.
For sure.
So
it's a big deal.
Yeah.
So where are these companies at right now? They are all developing these treatments using these various psychedelics, and they're in phase 1, phase 2, some in phase 3 of trials to be FDA approved. So as an investor, this is one of the really important things to keep your eye on because this can move the markets, right?
Yeah.
You read an article today about something like that?
Yeah, it looks like the entire industry is awaiting results from one of the first large-scale studies of psilocybin.
Right.
I believe it was with Compass and Atai Life Sciences.
It's a big deal. And that's why things are being picking up lately in the market.
Yeah. So we have seen a lot of volume picking back up. We mentioned it in the Discord recently. Just started to see some volume come through. These prices, they were sky high. Like when Mindmed announced the uplisting that they were going to come out and move to the NASDAQ, that just lifted the whole sector. It's okay. These companies are starting to catch on. People are starting to notice, and that lifted everything. Now we're seeing Seattle, voting to decriminalize.
Yep. And Detroit was on the vote as well.
Detroit as well. Yeah. Beautiful. So like we're seeing that, and then we're seeing this first large scale study that's coming through. And if this is passed, if psilocybin is shown to not have any negative effects, that should lift the sector again. We should see some crazy gains, which we did see. Was it back in February or?
Yeah. So, our origins in this sector specifically, we were onto Mindmed pretty early. It was early this year, late last year, so late 2020.
Stunk Boys.
Yeah. It was, shout out to those guys. But we were getting into Mindmed under $1, right? And there was a bunch of good news came in. I think, what really moved the needle for that was in the November 2020 election, Oregon decriminalized psychedelics. And that was kind of the first aha moment where everyone understood that this was the next thing. This is the first domino in this entire industry that's going to form around psychedelic treatment. And, we're like, boom, just go find any stock ticker that's related to psychedelics. Anything that has a mushroom in name, it's going to the fucking moon, right? So we were lucky enough to get in on a few early on those companies, but, people piled in, people bought the top. And then they're bag holders. So,
because it's funny when you see a company going from the OTC to the NASDAQ, you think, okay, beautiful. Everybody in the US now institutions can start investing in it. Everybody they have access to so much more capital.
Definitely.
But I guess the psychology and the market makers know this. It's like, look, you're coming in. We know the retailers are going to be chasing this brand new hot news.
Yep.
That's when they pull the
pull the plug.
That's when they pull it, right?
But that's why now is a great time to start focusing back on this sector because one, it's beaten down. The valuation of these companies is at a fraction of what it was earlier this year. The long-term thesis and what they're trying to do has not changed. If anything, their trials are all progressing. So you really got to keep your eye on where these trials are at, phase 2, phase 3, where the decriminalizations are getting voted in, because these things can move the market. It's super important. In any industry, you always have to watch for the macro environment.
Yeah.
But in psychedelics specifically, it's such early days. And one of the things people always do when I talk to them about this sector is compare it to the cannabis and marijuana stock industry. And there's a few important differences that we should discuss. I know you've been big into the cannabis industry in the past with mixed results. But, just what do you think are the main differences between cannabis and psychedelics and why maybe this skews us now towards psychedelics?
Well, I think obviously they get the contrast and the comparison because look, they're both a natural medicine. They're both new. They're both emerging. They both grow from the ground. When you say psychedelics or you say marijuana, your mind instantly goes to the exact same image that we talked about earlier. Yeah. So I think that's why it's able to get all those correlations.
It's like, Mom, it's psychedelics. It's real. Like, people are always just like,
man, I am loving these Simpsons sound effects.
They're great.
We need a bigger board so we can just use everything.
Every episode, we're gonna get it. It's gonna be fucking awesome.
Just turns into a whole episode of us listening to the
Simpsons. Yeah, it's great.
So I think the major difference is from an investing perspective, and I think this is Kevin OLeary alluded to this, was he's investing in the psychedelic sector because of the different molecules and the intellectual property associated with each company. So in the marijuana sector, you could it pretty much boiled down to who could grab land, who could create the plants the fastest and the cheapest, and then just start pumping it out. There's no intellectual property there.
Right. There's no moat.
You might, exactly. You might be able to get a strain, but man, when you get the average the average consumer who is normally used to just going to their buddy and they pay $10 for their gram.
They don't care.
They don't care at all. It's like, I don't care. They don't even know if it's a sativa or an indica or whatever. Yeah. But with these psilocybin companies who are producing things this is life altering stuff.
Yeah.
We're now taught, this is not a recreational, let's pop mushrooms and get crazy, or let's like really get introspective. This is to solve real problems. Not to say that cannabis doesn't, because, you know, when my dad had cancer, he used marijuana to like increase his appetite, get the nutrients into his body and all those things.
Right.
But there's just the intellectual property and the moats that are being able to be created by these things. And,
absolutely.
You know, for example, one of the companies I've been doing some research on recently is SciBio, and I know that they're creating psilocybin through E. coli. You know, it's a faster, greener, cheaper method than, you know, growing the mushrooms. So that's just a different way of going about it. And there's the name of the company is escaping me, but they've developed a molecule where, and again, this is where it comes down to the molecules, and they're able to suppress your desire for alcohol.
Right.
Based off
addiction.
Addiction.
Yeah.
So it's unique in that way that you can create these moats.
Yeah.
And you can't do that in the cannabis sector.
For sure. It's a much easier way to build a profitable business long term when you can patent certain compounds and treatments and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I like that you mentioned Kevin OLeary, because he identified this sector early, and he's kind of one of the guys that got me into it. He's an early investor in Mindmed, which he has said is one of his best investments financially, and I think just for the whole world. And one of the interesting things that he talked about, which made me super sold in the sector, in addition to spreading out the molecules and the patents, was the difference between the psychedelic and cannabis sector. The psychedelic sector is a medicinal play. The cannabis sector, it was a recreational play. So what did you see in 2017? You saw the weed boom, the cannabis stock boom. It's crazy. But at the end of the day, institutional investors and high net worth individuals cannot invest in cannabis stocks because it's federally illegal in America. And I can't see that changing anytime soon.
Yeah, it's that the Schedule 3, like the Schedule 1 aspect of things, right?
Yeah.
And when you look at the amount of people I don't know how many people have been arrested for possession of
Psychedelics? Yeah, probably minimal.
I think it's very small.
Tiny.
But with marijuana, you know, it's accessible. You can grow it easily. You can get it everywhere. You know, one plant will produce a couple pounds for you, and you got a shit ton of it. When you incarcerate all those people, and you have, you know, millions of people in jail right now. Yes, I understand they're breaking the law, but if you all of a sudden alter it and turn it from a federal one, maybe decriminal, what do you do with all those people who are in jail right now?
Yeah, it's a clusterfuck.
You know, it's an infrastructure problem at that point. And to me, I think that it's almost like Congress is just going to keep dragging this out. You know, I don't know if they're actually going to change these laws anytime soon.
I can't see it happening.
You know,
things move slowly, with that.
Yeah. You know, anyways.
So it's like, what do we see with the cannabis boom in 2017? It's stock sector booms are traditionally retail driven, the hype. The retail investors pile into these companies. But that one fell flat on its face because there was no institutional investors to back it up, right? So like me and you are piling thousands of dollars or whatever into these cannabis stocks. But if you don't have the banks, the gigantic hedge funds buying these cannabis company stocks at millions and millions of dollars a go, they will eventually fall flat on their face because there's no heavy money backing it. For psychedelics, it started with the retail investors. Once these trials and substances are federally approved, FDA, and they roll them out, this is legal. It's a legal play. It's medicinal. Hedge funds, high net worth individuals, and institutions will start buying these psychedelic stocks. Yeah. I guarantee it.
And that's a lot of money pouring in.
It's billions. Yeah. And that is really the deciding factor for me where I want to put my money. I'm putting it into an industry which hasn't seen the institutional adoption, but when these things are FDA approved, it will. Yeah. So we are still so fucking early in this psychedelic stock movement that I will park my money there and I will just wait because I know what the future holds. They're solving a real problem, which is more inherent in the world than ever. The money is coming. We just have to be patient with these FDA trials, but that's why it's important. Like the study Josh was saying earlier, you have to keep your eye on the ball with these studies because when these studies come in, all of a sudden FDA approves or it's going to phase 4 or whatever, then these things are going to fucking move and you don't want to be caught too late. So it's important. I mean, we talk about these stocks and when this news hits, it can be fast. We post about this stuff in the Beanstalk Discord whenever it happens.
I mean, we've been on top of it since we started it. I think
absolutely.
It might have been one of our first posts.
It's a free Discord. Like Josh and I are doing this research. We're posting it in this Discord for free. So if you guys don't want to do all the research, it's fine. We'll do it for you. Check
Absolutely.
the link is below if you guys are interested anyway.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of interesting stuff with it too. It's when we're talking about these companies who are doing these they're psychedelic companies. We're not talking about taking grams of psychedelics. We're talking about very small
like
micro doses of this compound.
Yeah.
I don't want to say 100% that these are going to pass FDA, but I can also say that, look, it's going to pass. Like nothing, you're not going to grow a third arm. You're not going to go crazy.
Yeah.
Like I don't know.
It'll get there.
From use, from experience, it's like, it doesn't.
For sure.
Yeah.
So let's talk about a couple of the companies that we really like. I've always been a Mindmed guy. I will always be a Mindmed guy. It was the first psychedelic stock that I invested to under $1. It was a multi-bagger for me. I made a lot of money on it, and I'm still holding a large bag of Mindmed.
Yeah.
The thing that attracted me to Mindmed, like Kevin OLeary always preaches, they have their hands everywhere. So they're developing like between 6 and 10 different substances and treatments.
Yeah.
So if 4 of them fail and don't pass the FDA approved, well, 5 of them have approved, and 2 of them are the real successful ones because they're game changer for people with mental illness. So Mindmed has always attracted me to that. And they're also building a technology platform. So they're trying to become the Tesla of psychedelics. So they're using an AI platform to diagnose, treat, and monitor people with mental illnesses with an app, and it's all integrated. So their substances and their treatments and the platform all works together for a full circle solution for people with mental illnesses. To me, that's amazing. I'm super confident with my money in Mindmed because I see all the different things they're doing.
Yeah. And you need to put some trust into Kevin OLeary too. I mean, the guy,
sure.
He's a smart guy. He's done a lot of business, and when the guy's in Mindmed at, I don't even know what price he got in.
He's like an early seed investor. I think
a couple cents or something.
Before they went public.
Yeah. Whenever he got it, whatever price that would have been.
Yeah.
Like, that's just
insane.
It's smart money. You want to follow what the big guys are doing. I like following them early.
For sure. What companies do you like in this space?
One of my favorites is Atai Life Sciences. Yep. I think it's Peter Thiel backed, founder of PayPal. Again, I like to look at what, smart guys, billionaires who have built successful companies in the past.
Yep.
The reason I like Atai is the fact that they take more of a decentralized approach. So that's going to enhance the speed of getting trials across the line. It's going to help with getting information quicker, technology faster.
Yep.
It kind of eliminates all these hurdles from a centralized approach.
Right.
So my pick in the race of psychedelic companies is definitely Atai Life Sciences.
For sure. I mean, there's so many other good ones. I think Cybin is using psilocybin for depression. Compass Pathways, who we mentioned before, they're developing their own synthetic form of psilocybin using for depression. Even big companies like Johnson & Johnson are entering the race, which it kind of gives validity to the space. I think I just read they scored FDA approval for a ketamine-based treatment of depression. So like the big money is slowly filtering in.
Yeah.
So you just got to watch. Where's the big money going? Where are the trials? There's so many cool companies in the space. Another cool one is Field Trip.
Yeah. I think I have a bit of money in Field Trip, actually.
Yeah, so Field Trip, their angle is they are developing the treatment centers for psychedelics. So they're not just focusing on developing the actual substances and molecules themselves. They've already opened up treatment centers in a bunch of the big cities in North America. I think New York, LA, Chicago, and Toronto, if I'm not mistaken. So they're on the ground. They're on the front lines.
So it's a different way of approaching it, right?
Yeah.
Like, instead of just looking at, like we're talking about the manufacturers of these, there's also the actual clinics.
Yeah.
Or maybe the distributors. And so there's different ways of playing it, right?
For sure. I mean, you're going to see companies, there will be consolidation in the space. Companies will become vertically integrated, all that kind of stuff. But this is the birth of a new industry. Mm-hmm. So we have the people that are doing the research into it. We have the people that are going to be marketing the solutions, the treatments. And then we have the people that are patenting the methods that the treatments are given, like Field Trip. It's an end-to-end spectrum, and it's all just being born now because it still hasn't really launched yet. So just like crypto, we love to get in early. We love to invest in the future of the world.
Yeah.
Asymmetric opportunities, right? We've talked about that in the Discord. I love investing in asymmetric opportunities, which is an investment opportunity where the upside greatly outweighs the downside.
Right.
So I could throw $1,000 into Mindmed. If what we think is going to happen happens, it's going to go 100x.
So it's a calculated gamble or a calculated risk.
Calculated risk, saying, right? Yeah. It could go 1,000 could turn into 100,000. Might not. You might lose the 1,000, but it's a higher risk, high reward. Yeah. Which for younger, newer investors, that's in my opinion something that's you can do. Mm-hmm. So that's, you know, if you have millions of dollars, it's a bit of a different, you maybe be more careful with your money.
Yeah.
But the psychedelic stock sector has always attracted me for the same reason that crypto does, because it's the birth of a new industry.
Yeah. And, you know, when stocks are beaten up and you see the potential moving forward, like now is a good time to maybe dollar cost average into a position if you've been thinking about it.
For sure.
I mean, they're trading at half of their all-time highs or something like that. So
it was something interesting I saw on Twitter today or this week. Someone was speculating on where the crypto money is going to go after the bull run. Ooh. And he was just kind of going off the cuff about his opinion. He said, you know, what do crypto investors like in the stock market? And he mentioned the psychedelic sector, you know, for the reason that I just mentioned. So if you have these crypto investors making billions, millions, millions, well, once they take their profits, where are they going to put it in the stock market? These, I feel like the type of investor that likes crypto is
like penny stocks.
Partial to like, fucking penny stocks, but psychedelic stocks, like, you know,
sure.
So like keep an eye on that rotation, because there's always rotations in markets. So when the crypto profits get pulled, maybe that's when the psychedelic stock will light on fire again.
Man, that's some good psychology right there. Right? Like that's, I mean, if you look at the type of person who was taking the shot on crypto early,
that's it.
I think it's the same type of investor who was taking the chance on psychedelics
it
early.
Could be.
That makes sense.
I mean, it was just his opinion.
Yeah, no, hey,
but
I like it. I'm on board with an opinion like that. It makes sense to me.
No, I think these are all the things you have to pay attention to. And, you know, there's a lot going on in these sectors. As we said, if you guys want to keep updated, join the Beanstalk Discord. Josh and I talk about this weekly.
There's a lot going on in there now.
If any big news drops in these sectors, we're posting it in the Beanstalk Discord as soon as it happens. So
and there's a lot of other really smart people in there. And like we've grown this thing from, you know, just me and you to I think we're over 10,000 members
people
in there now.
So for sure.
It's nice. There's always somebody else to ask a question to, and there's a lot of different insight.
Yeah, I think so.
Oakley dokley.
Well, I think that's a pretty good summary of the psychedelic stock sector. It's going to be an exciting space. It's a long-term game for sure, but there's so much cool stuff going on there. I think it's one to keep an eye on.
Absolutely love it. Appreciate you all. Thanks for tuning in.
Awesome, guys. Cheers.